Good morning. I hadn't made a video in a really long time, and I'm up at the office and had just a couple of minutes, so I thought I'd take that time to say good morning and tell you a few things that we've been up to this summer. Since session let out, I don't think I've done a video. So here's an update. There's a lot going on this summer. It's not a typical interim. You know, we meet for the legislative session from February to May. The rest of the time is called the interim, and that's when we're preparing legislation, working in the community. But this summer's been a very busy one. So one of the biggest things I wanted to mention is the American Rescue Plan funds. The federal government passed the American Rescue Plan, which included a lot of different financial items from individual benefits to funds directly to our counties. Oklahoma got $1.87 billion for state and local fiscal relief, and those funds can be used for a couple different uses. Mostly it's about the health and economic recovery for our state, really looking at those who've been most impacted. There's a lot of disparities in terms of health and in terms of the economy from low-wage workers and other communities that have been specifically impacted. The legislature's involved this time with prioritizing those use of those federal funds. And we have a couple of years to decide those projects. I know we'll be deciding some soon, but we get to help prioritize what's this state really needs. So we've had hearings. I'm on the Health and Human Services Working Group, so we listen to mental health challenges, the challenges for finding enough health workers. There's a real shortage of nurses in this COVID environment. We already had a shortage of folks coming out compared to the need, but with COVID, a lot more people have left the workforce or left nursing and health fields. So those are some of the big concerns that got elevated in the health area. We're also looking at infrastructure projects, broadband, things like that. Those funds, that application went live today, October 1st. You can go to oklahoma.gov/ARPA, and I'll put that link in the caption later, to learn more about the process and what's eligible from the U.S. Treasury. There's an application there that's open to anyone in Oklahoma, can submit an idea or can submit a proposal. So I've talked to a lot of nonprofits and other groups that are working on proposals to specifically address challenges. So whether that's youth homelessness or the health challenges that we're seeing because of COVID, we're seeing a lot of specific needs in our communities. People can apply now. We'll be working in November and December to review that initial group of proposals. The legislature will prioritize them. The governor has the final say in what gets funded. So $1.87 billion will be distributing, has to be committed by 2024. A little bit more, ask me if you have questions about that. I'm glad to share. Next week, that we'll be having lots of interim study hearings over the next few weeks. Those are when we as legislators can submit ideas that we want to study or hear more about. It's really one of the only ways in our legislative process where we have testimony from experts and from community members to help us understand an issue more. So next week are the Public Safety Committee hearings you may want to watch. I saw that Senator Matthews is doing one specifically about de-escalation for law enforcement and about reintegrating individuals after they've been incarcerated into the community. I saw there's one by Senator Floyd about sexual assault testing kits and how those are being handled across the state. That's been a real challenge to improve that system and make sure we're testing those kits to find out who's at fault. And then Senator Hicks organized a study specifically about nursing individuals who are incarcerated. So trying to make sure that folks who've had babies can nurse those babies even if they're incarcerated. Going to look at the research on that. Two of my studies have been scheduled for the following week on October 13th. A project I've been working on for a couple of years is looking at individuals, Oklahomans who have intellectual and developmental disabilities, have access to certain services for transition. So this is helping them from our K through 12 system into adulthood and what that's going to look like in the future. That might be job trying, learning specific skills. That might be extra opportunities for them to experience the workforce or have supported work. And looking at those systems and where we interconnect schools with Department of Rehabilitation Services and other community services to help people reach their potential in our communities. We really want a state that includes everyone in its economy and in its future. So that's what that study will look at. That's first thing in the morning on October 13th, 9 to 11 a.m. glad to share the full agenda with you later. And then in the afternoon, I'm working with Senator Chuck Hall on a study about film and media arts education. So, you know, my background, I ran arts nonprofit organizations, really looking at creatives across our state and how we encourage them and keep them in the state, creating their businesses. Well, we have a huge opportunity where the film industry is taking off in Oklahoma after years of pushing it forward. Senator Hall and others worked really hard to put in place some incentives to make some of those big productions happen here and more of them. And so we have an opportunity for people to get jobs in that field. But we wanted to look specifically at K through 12 and what are those chances that students are being exposed to film and media arts. We know they're surrounded every day by media. How are they learning about it? And so we're looking specifically at in-school programs, so programs run by our certified teachers. We're looking at career tech programs. Across the state, there's some film and media arts programs that are pretty exceptional. And we're looking at nonprofit organizations that work with students, young students in our community. So Oklahoma Arts Council will be presenting along with the Film and Music Office. If you're interested in that, that's going to be on the 13th as well in the afternoon. And it's open to the public and it'll be streaming live. So I'm really excited about those two topics. The last thing I wanted to mention is you may have seen that the governor has called a special session. It's going to be November 15th. It's specifically for redistricting. So you may remember that we passed maps in April, which were based on the census estimate information. Well, now we have the final data. We got the final data in August, and some of our districts don't fit within the proper deviation. So we have too many people or too few people. And so we're going to have to adjust those lines for the legislative maps, and we need to draw the congressional maps. So the congressional maps should be released hopefully soon, so that people can see our 5 congressional members and who they'll be representing, because the population has shifted dramatically over the last 10 years. So November 15th will be the start time for that special session. We expect it to be about 5 days for those bills to be heard and go through committee and then change chambers and be signed by the governor. So watch for more information on that. Glad to answer your questions anytime. Let me know if you have questions or concerns. Have a great day.